Alright, shalom, shalom. First and foremost, I want to give all praises to the Most High Power, Yahweh, Bahashem Yahushai, Bahashem Makar Kadash, Barakati Yahweh, Barakati Yahushai. I want to give double honors to the apostles and elders of Great Millstone, who we learn this truth from. Peace and salutation to all our Akim that's doing the work in sincerity and charity with humiliation all across the four winds. To you I salute. The Wadi Yahweh Shem Yahushai for the wisdom, knowledge, and understanding to do these lessons. Yeah, this is the brother Yasha Wamba from the GMS Bombers Camp back at you with a brief lesson. Now, I want to go into, something that I'm sure all of us went through before, whether it be on the workplace, in society, especially in society, wherever. Because all of us, when we think back on the story of Saul and David, how Saul earnestly sought David's life, when we liken that unto us, all of us have a Saul to overcome. All of us have somebody, who works deceitful works towards us, especially on the workplace. Now that person most likely they'd have especially if they have a higher position on the workplace than you. They'd seek to dirty your name or to seek to get you in problems. But the Most High, when you go through those things, the Most High don't let it happen whereas you lose your job because of it. Yeah, you may go through those trials and tribulations because of that person, but not to the point whereas it causes you your job. And we understand that the Most High can bug people out and thinking that they have you cornered, when in actuality he set them up to be destroyed. Now, a scripture what we could get for that is we go to the book of 1 Samuel, chapter 23 and 7. It reads, "And it was told Saul that David was come to Keilah. And Saul said, The Most High had delivered him into mine hand, for he is shut in, by entering into a town that had gates and bars." So Saul perceived that he had David cornered, but the Most High had other plans. And we read here in verse 9. No. Salakia. Yeah, verse 9. "And David knew that Saul secretly practiced mischief against him. And he said to Abiathar the priest, Bring hither the ephod." So David knew what Saul was into. David knew for a long time what Saul was into. So what proves that? When we jump down to verse 11, where David is praying to the Most High. It says, "Will the men of Keilah deliver me up into his hand? Will Saul come down as thy servant had heard? O Yahweh, power of Israel, I beseech thee, tell thy servant." And Yahweh said, He will come down. So the Most High answered David and said, "Yeah, Saul coming down." In verse 12, "Then said David, Will the men of Keilah deliver me up, and my men into the hand of Saul?" And the Most High said, "They will deliver thee up." So the Most High answered David and told him they would deliver him up as well. And we could liken that unto the people surrounding us as well. They say they mean you well, but they deliver you up without even thinking about it. But where they thinking they have you cornered, the Most High setting them up to be destroyed. And what's so interesting about this too? At the beginning of their meeting, Saul loved David. Whenever the evil spirit would come upon Saul, David would play his harp and the evil spirit would depart from him. But just for edification's sake, we can grab that. Right? Let's get 1 Samuel 16 and 23. It says, "And it came to pass when the evil spirit from Yahweh was upon Saul, that David took an harp and played with his hand. So Saul was refreshed and was well, and the evil spirit departed from him." When we liken that unto these days and times now, when we prophesy and we speak this truth, to the people who are around us, they are comforted by it. And likened to the Saul aspect, that all of us have a Saul within our lives. That person at the first, they would be comforted by your words. They'd feel or give the persona that, hey, they welcome you. But just how quickly that welcoming could turn into envy. You speaking the truth to them, you healing them. That harp is likened unto the words of this truth. It's sweet. It makes you feel good. It makes you feel refreshed, right? But it's so funny how the same person who you comfort will be the same person that try to take your life, or who try to sully your name, or who betray you. It says here, Salakia. Let's go here in the 1 Samuel chapter 18, right? We can pick it up at verse 9. Because it's that they hate to see that a lowly person out of nowhere is blessed by the Most High. At first, you comfort them, and when they see you being blessed by the Most High, they don't know why. They don't have the understanding or the spiritual knowledge to perceive, that you are a man of the Most High. They don't know why you being blessed, and that quickly turns to envy on their behalf. 1 Samuel 18 and 9. And Saul eyed David from that day and forward, because in the previous verse, let's bring it out. And Saul was, verse 8, and Saul was very wroth, and the saying displeased him. And he said, "They have ascribed unto David 10,000, and to me they have ascribed but thousands. And what can he have more but the kingdom?" That's envy. And Saul eyed David from that day and forward. So when they see the blessings being upon you, and let's use the workplace for an example. They see you doing the work. They see you getting ahead. They see you, achieving things. They become envious. You see, not knowing the blood, sweat, and tears that you put into it. Not knowing, that the Most High is behind us in it. You see, verse 10. And it came to pass on the morrow that the evil spirit from Yahweh came upon Saul. Today, when that evil spirit go upon the people who are around us, and he prophesied in the midst of the house. And David played with his hand as at other times, and there was a javelin in Saul's hand. So the same way when that evil spirit come upon them again, we tell them the word. And through their envy, they are cut by it. So now, when it was a sweet song inside their ears, that sweet song turned into bitterness. Right? Verse 11. And Saul cast the javelin, for he said, "I will smite David even to the wall with it." And David avoided out of his presence twice. So David knew what Saul was into. But, David knew that the Most High was protecting him. And even us in this day and time now, as much as people badmouth us, as much as people scoff at us, we know and we ask the Most High to protect us. You see, we can't be fainting these times. We have to trust in the Most High and believe that He'll deliver us out of our troubles. verse 23 and 9, and David knew that Saul secretly practiced mischief against him. That's it right there. You think of a man throw javelin at you and you avoid it. You think you know he trying to kill you. But David didn't fail. And he said that the Abiathar, the priest, bring hither the ephod. You know. And when David prayed to the Most High earnestly, that he'd be protected. And we see here when we go up to 23 and 23, it says, "They saw now, see therefore, and take knowledge of all the lurking places where he hideth himself, and come ye again to me with the certainty, and I will go with you. And it will come to pass, if he be in the land, that I will search him out throughout all the thousands of Judah." You see the extent where Saul was willing to go to, but he just search out all those places just to find David. And even when we liken that in today's terms, the extent what people go to in your community, on your job, to try to cost you, people will go to the extremes. Who could stand before envy? So let's grab that precept real quick. Before envy. Con. Proverbs 27 and 4. Wrath is cruel and anger is outrageous, but who is able to stand before envy? You see that? Envy is a serious thing. It will make people go to extremes just to see you fail. But again, we ought to pray to Yahweh Bahashim Yahushai for that protection, for that Silah Hamath the cliff of divisions. But let's bring that up real quick, right? Let's jump down to verse 27. 1 Samuel 23 and 27. "But there came a messenger unto Saul, saying, Haste thee, Salakia." 26. "And Saul went on this side of the mountain, and David and his men on that side of the mountain. And David made haste to get away for fear of Saul. For Saul and his men compassed David and his men round about to take them." They were surrounded. David and his men were surrounded. But again, he trusted in the Most High. He trusted in the Most High, to be delivered. Even when they were surrounded, his faith didn't waver. You see? Verse 27, we have to understand that the Most High will make a way out of no way. And we have to understand that. You see? Verse 27, "But there came a messenger unto Saul, saying, Haste thee and come, for the Philistines have invaded the land. Wherefore Saul returned from pursuing after David." God, you see that? The Most High made a way for David to escape by telling Saul that they were being attacked by the Philistines, so they retreated. "Wherefore Saul returned from pursuing after David and went against the Philistines. Therefore they called that place Silah Hamachlekath." And let's bring up that word, right? In the Strong's H5555, Silah Hamachlekath, which means the cliff of escapes or the cliff of divisions. It says here, "A rock or cliff in the wilderness of Maon, southeast of Hebron, the scene of an escape of David from Saul." Done. So we have to pray to the Most High to place that cliff of divisions between us and that spiritual Saul who we may encounter in our life, and in our surroundings. We have to pray to the Most High to make an escape route for us. You see? Yeah, man. All this shows that with prayer, with fervent prayer, and belief in the scriptures and praying to the Most High, that we can be delivered. We have to have that faith. We have to have that faith to deal, with that, to overcome that Saul, to overcome those who may seek our life. Yeah, man. But I want to give all praises to Yahweh Ba'ashim Yahushai, Ba'ashim Rakah Kadash, the Wadi Yahweh Ba'ashim Yahushai for the wisdom, knowledge, and understanding to do this lesson. And I pray that whoever needed to hear this would hear it. Shalom, Akim.